Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Calhoun's. Their restaurants are synonymous with Vols athletics, and now they are synonymous with ease. EASE. Download the free Calhoun's app for your phone and order by smartphone. Even get curbside delivery in most Knoxville locations. Calhoun's. All right. Want to welcome in the next members of our panel. We have right over here VFL Will Overstreet. And we have Vol fan for life down there, Chuck Cavaleras, who's smiling today. Like UT in this segment, we're going to go from bad to good. So let's start with Jimmy and Chuck down there and talk about the flaws. They almost caught this team yesterday. I put up a tweet saying, well, they caught up to you today. Watch tomorrow and we'll discuss. Never tweet with 4 seconds to play. Don't do it. Wait the last 4 seconds. But they almost caught them. This team drops about 3 passes a game, at least. I think that's conservative. They keep dropping passes, dropped passes yesterday. They fumbled 14 times on the year. They've now recovered 11, which is great, but you were 2 for 2 lost yesterday. Cost you 10 points. And then another thing, they keep having penalties. You only had 2 yesterday, but I think both of them came on scoring drives. And you are, going into yesterday, you were second worst in the SEC, which is the complete opposite of what Butch Jones teams have done in the past. Can Tennessee continue to struggle with penalties, drops, and fumbles and win games?
Can I spell my answer? H-A-I-L, no.
Hell no.
Hell no. But do we have any champagne left? You know, you're still doing it, but here's the thing. When you go on the road at Texas A&M, that team has more talent, and I would say is better coached than Georgia. If you can't continue to get away with this against teams with equal or better talent or better coaching, it'll catch up with you eventually.
Yeah, I think Chuck hit it. That's not going to work at A&M. It's not going to work against Alabama. It may work against some teams, but you need to be able to get off to a better start. It's great to come from behind, but boy, you face some teams that are a little bit better, like A&M and like Alabama, and I think that's going to catch up to you. So you're playing with fire. You need to put that fire out at the start of the game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's not like you just see these one game after game after game. Those 3 issues keep popping up, which at some point, you keep waiting. Well, they'll put it all together. You're 5 games in. I think this is what you are. I think you're going to see a team that's not really consistent. They may play one game where they're all in, but I think what you've seen is what you get, and they're kind of a sloppy team at times.
Well, and you mentioned the 2 penalties. One of them extended a drive. One was on 3rd down, and that extended a scoring drive. So even though they only had 2, at least one was critical.
Yeah. Will and Bob, let's go positive now. Like Tennessee, we'll go from bad to good. The guy that is most impacted by those drop passes is Josh Dobbs. We all know how great he is with his legs. He's a dynamic, slippery runner. Doesn't look like it. Everybody gets a hand on him, but nobody can get him down. It's remarkable. But passing-wise, the one place we've all kind of gigged at him a little bit, you put just 2 drops into his numbers, okay? Just give him 2 passes back, and I think that's conservative. That's 10 extra completions. You put those in there, he's completing 65% of his passes, which was Butch Jones' goal for him this year. He would also have 3 more touchdown passes if Williams and Kroom hadn't dropped 2 in the end zone, and if Hurd doesn't get whacked at the 1-yard line. Dobbs he gets better and better in terms of the way he carries this offense. Can you remember who stands out to you in terms of previous falls that UT was so connected to in terms of wins and losses? I mean, you take Dobbs out of this thing, he's 90% of your run game. He's your pass game. He's the flame that gets it all going. Anybody come to mind?
You go first.
Well, I mean, everybody, the easy one would be to just say somebody like Peyton Manning, but Peyton didn't have the run game. And I think so you have to think about something that also did it with his feet. So Heath Schuler would be my choice. I mean, just a guy that can make the pass game happen, but also knew how to break, if you got guys coming after you in the backfield, he could make something happen and get down the road a little bit and basically turn a bad play into something good. So I think a guy like that would be closer to a Dobbs. But, I mean, really, you got to say it. I mean, we're stretching here to try to say who has more dependency of this offense on one guy. I think Dobbs right now, I'd put up at number 1.
Yeah.
I'll go back a little bit farther, show my age a bit. Condredge Holloway. Condredge Holloway was just a dynamic runner. He was an underrated thrower when he was in college, much like Dobbs is. I think he showed when he went to the Canadian League exactly how good of a passer he really was. So I think you've got to go all the way back there to Condredge Holloway, a guy who could beat you both ways. Either running or throwing, and also just the team sort of coalesced around him. That was Condredge Holloway's team when he was here as a starting quarterback.
And here's the thing, Schuler had a lot of guys around him, especially offensive line, that wound up in the NFL, running backs, NFL. Manning had guys on an offensive line, NFL, running backs, NFL. I think you got some NFL talent running back with Dobbs. We'll see about the offensive line. So I think the Condrich Holloway comparison, because he didn't play on spectacular teams.
No.
It wasn't the 90s level pro conveyor belt. People forget that Tennessee was like Alabama in the 90s. Like Alabama now, that's how Tennessee was then. You have 8, 9 guys drafted a year. So I think you got to go back to Holloway if that fits, and that was a different era. So I kind of agree with Will. I don't know that we've ever seen anybody in this day and age that is more important to Tennessee's wins and losses than Josh Dobbs.
And if the season keeps playing out the way it is, if Tennessee ends on a really, really good note, be it SEC East, be it SEC Championship, who knows, then I think you will see that Dobbs will get the credit when he's done. I think people will be able to look back. If they don't fall apart or stumble, I think he'll get his credit.
Yeah, I just think it's important for all the guff he's taken over the past game. The last couple of weeks, he's really lit it up, and if you put the drops back in, his numbers are looking exactly like what Butch Jones said. I didn't think he could hit them. He's hitting them at the moment. All right, if guys could hold on to the football. All right, when we come back, we're going to play In a Word. I'm going to ask the guys to give me a one-word description of the offensive line, the linebackers, the defensive line, and some fella named Juwan Jennings. We'll let him describe it a little bit more than one word, but you get the gist. Come on back on the Sports Source.